WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange is making his final appeal against his impending extradition to the United States. Now, his brother will join us in the studio in just a moment, but here is a look back at how this unfolded, as simply as we can do this.
So we start in 2010. That's the year that Assange's website, WikiLeaks, released leaked video from a US helicopter showing an airstrike that killed civilians in Baghdad, as well as around 500,000 documents, including secret US military reports and diplomatic communications.
Now, in November, a Swedish court ordered his arrest over rape allegations, which he denies. He was arrested in the UK, but later freed on bail.
Now, in 2012, after trying and failing to fight an extradition order to Sweden, he took refuge in Ecuador's embassy.
We all remember that. 5 years later, Swedish prosecutors discontinued their investigations into those rape allegations. They said it was impossible to proceed whilst he was living in that embassy.
OK, fast forward now 2 years. Assange was carried out of the embassy and arrested after Ecuador revoked his political asylum. In May, a British court sentenced him to 50 weeks in prison for skipping bail.
Keep going. A month later, the US formally asked the United Kingdom to extradite him to face charges that he violated an espionage law and conspired to hack US government computers.
In 2022, the then Home Secretary signed the order to extradite him after years of legal battles. Assange appealed, but it was dismissed in the High Court.
Yesterday, we spoke to legal commentator Joshua Rosenberg, who told us that Assange hadn't made a good enough case.
Curiously, we haven't had a formal judgment published by the High Court judge who turned down his arguments last time. Basically, the judge said that there were no grounds to appeal. He hadn't come up with any reason. You do need a reason for avoiding extradition. You start from the assumption that a state like the United States has good grounds for seeking somebody to be sent over there for trial, somebody who's here in the United Kingdom, and he wasn't able to come up with any arguments that persuaded the court. Whether he'll be able to at the hearing that starts tomorrow and continues into Wednesday, we'll just have to wait and see.
So that's what's taking place today. We are now joined in the studio by Julian's brother, Gabriel. Gabriel, thank you so much.
Gabriel.
Appreciate this. Is a highly sort of stressful time for your family. Just explain what is happening to your brother today and what is the case that he's going to put forward?
Well, today and tomorrow, Julian's putting forward this appeal application. So it's an application for leave to appeal. One of the basic arguments that they will put forward is that this lopsided extradition treaty between the US and the UK has a carve-out for political offences, in that you cannot be extradited for political offences. And one of the main arguments of the legal team is that what Julian is charged with, under the Espionage Act in the United States, is inherently political, espionage being, a political charge, and that his extradition should be blocked because of the political nature of those charges. So that is one of the main arguments. Also, it will speak to the conditions that Julian faces if he's extradited to the United States. Conditions that the UN Special Rapporteur on Torture just last week called torturous and called on the UK to reject the extradition because of what Julian would face in the prison system if he is extradited.
Treat me as a complete ignoramus, and it's fascinating to have you here. The political nature of the charges. I know this is a difficult question. Forgetting the Swedish thing, the leaks of that information, do you think he did the right thing or the wrong thing?
Well, I think the proof's in the pudding, really. Julian collaborated with all the largest newspapers around the globe in releasing this information. They all found it newsworthy. They all published it alongside him. Newspapers like The Times, The Guardian, The New York Times in the United States, El País in Spain, Le Monde in France. So they all found it newsworthy and, wanted to publish it and inform their readers about what was going on. I don't really have to say whether he did the right or the wrong thing. He published truthful information, which is the role of the press in our society.
And is being or has been made as out to be sort of the scapegoat for this whole thing.
Yeah, that's right. And I think what's really key and what, something that developed last week was the Australian Parliament actually put forward a motion that was voted on. 86 members of the Parliament, that's 2/3 of the Australian Parliament, called on the UK and the United States to bring this to a close and return Julian back to Australia. So this, what's going on to Julian is becoming more and more of a scandal on the world stage. You have all these Latin American leaders who have come out, called on the Biden administration to drop this. The Australian Prime Minister has been constantly advocating to Biden and also Prime Minister Sunak to bring this to a close.
The view of the British government is that he should go to the US to face trial there.
Yes, well, they've signed off on it, but I think the pressure around the world is really mounting, and it's becoming clearer and clearer what is at stake in this case, and the press freedom rights of us all that really strike at the heart of this case. I mean, we've got all the press freedom organisations, all the largest.
But is there not a difference with respect? And I'm not taking the opposite view. I just want to get inside your head, really. Yeah. There's a difference between opening stuff up to the press and outlaying, if you like, secrets that could be bordering on treason, secrets that could impinge on a country's security. I absolutely take your point about the other publications and how he sees he's been made this sort of figurehead. Do you think he regrets it? How is he in Belmarsh? What are the conditions like?
Yeah, look, he's suffering in there. He's going through an immense amount of suffering. You know, he's deteriorating. His health is in a very delicate position. You know, it's going to see him inside the prison. I went to see him at the end of last year, and it's absolutely heartbreaking to see, you know, this, you know, what I think is an amazing man who's done incredible things, who's, you know, changed the world with these publications that led to the end of the war in Iraq, exposed thousands and thousands of undocumented civilian deaths, war crimes, the collateral murder video, the famous collateral murder video showed an Apache helicopter gunship mowing down 2 Reuters journalists in Iraq. That's why he's in prison. So it's really heartbreaking to see him there, you know, for telling the truth. And I think all of us, you know, we tell our children, you know, tell the truth, be truthful. And when the truth puts you in jail, you know, I don't think that those are the values of our Western societies.
We do know, though, that telling the truth comes at a cost. There has been a significant cost so far. Have your family worked out a strategy? What to do next? If this doesn't go in your favour, what's the strategy?
Well, I've been, you know, personally, I've been lobbying in the United States for the last few years, and we're building up quite a beachhead of support in the US Congress, both Republican and Democrats. Congress people are coming onto our side, you know, seeing the threat that this poses to their First Amendment rights in the United States. And they're joining on to, you know, write to President Biden. There's a resolution before the Congress. So we're really working hard.
So the campaigning continues?
Yes, yeah, regardless.
Gabriel, I wish we had a whole morning. It's fascinating. It's interesting to hear the difference between what one reads and the human level. And I take your point about he was releasing stuff. We're going to keep, obviously, the viewers and listeners updated, but we respect you. Just in from Australia, thank you so much indeed for joining us on Talk today.
Thanks for having me.